Fantastic. Brilliant. Monica, I shall hand over to you.
Thank you, Louisa. Hi, everybody. My name is Monica Kelly. I am Assistant Director to the Academic Center Division. I am joined today by some of our current and past students who will be talking to us about their experience of studying at ICE. Let me quickly go round and ask everyone to introduce themselves. Simon, would you like to start?
Yeah, hi, I'm Simon. I live just outside London, and I'm doing the creative nonfiction certificate.
Caroline? You're muted, Caroline.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I live in Cambridge and I'm in my 4th year with ICE. I'm finishing the diploma in history of art.
Sam?
Hi everybody, my name's Sam. I studied the undergraduate certificate in life and executive coaching, and I'm now a full-time coach helping young people set up their own business for free.
Lavinia?
Hi everyone, I'm Lavinia. I'm based in Barcelona and I'm studying the diploma in coaching this year.
And finally, Zuneira.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Monica. My name's Zanera. I'm based in Windsor, and I'm currently on the certificate in coaching program with ICE, and we're in the last unit, so it's quite full on at the moment.
Thank you. So I have a number of questions. Let me start with Simon, please. Simon, would you tell us why you decided to study at ICE, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. So before I went on the course, obviously spent a little bit of time looking at the various options that were open to me, and I kind of landed on 4 key things that I felt were really important, both to me and I think the course that I was studying. The first, of course, was just the overall reputation of the institution that I was going to go to. Cambridge, of course, has got a global, glowing reputation, so that was a very easy kind of tick in the box. The second one was the faculty, and I'm very privileged to be studying with published authors, which of course, for me, doing a creative nonfiction course is really, really valuable. So I'm working with faculty who have been there, who have produced output and have been published, so that the quality and the caliber of the faculty was really, really impressive. And that was another really important point to me. And then the other 2 things was the general content of the course. I found it really varied, rich, across all the different aspects that we're studying. So that was certainly appealing. And the final piece was the actual timetable, which worked really well for me because, of course, I'm doing a part-time course here. So it allowed me to continue with my day-to-day commitments as well. So that flexibility around that was the final piece that kind of got it across the line. And that's why it was the right course for me.
Thank you, Simon. I'll move over to Lavinia now. Your journey through your studies, Lavinia, has been really interesting. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Sure. So I am completing the diploma in coaching now in June. Last year, I completed the certificate in coaching. Obviously, I liked what I found in the certificate and I continued this year. It made a lot of sense, and coaching is a lot about studies. So I thought what Cambridge offers is super valuable. So I went for the 2nd year. Before that, though, because it is academic and I graduated like 16 years ago, my studies, I wanted to go back, and I chose academic studies without knowing a lot about it, because I graduated math and computer science a long time ago. So before I went for the certificate, even I did an emotional intelligence course on edX, which gave me access to a lot of scientific journals and very long research papers. And that's where I think it had an impact on me, finding out that I really like reading a lot about scientific and theory, and then put it in practice. So now I'm also considering doing the master's in coaching at some point in time, if that will be virtual. So I'll discover with time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavinia. I'll stay with you for a moment. Can you tell us a little bit what you found particularly interesting and what you really enjoyed about the course? You were telling me a little bit about the balance of the study and the program. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yes, so it's a bit controversial in a way, because I really appreciate it, but some other people, I feel like they don't see it the way I do. So I'm happy to share this with everyone. What I really, really valued was the strong foundation that is built by theory. So again, related to the journals, the science that we're reading about, psychology, it's a lot of theory in a way, but then the course is doing a great job at actually having us learn how to put that into application. So we're writing a lot of logs about our coaching. We need to, in a way, prove that we put in application what we read about, that we experiment with the scientific research and findings, that we are up to date with the latest scientific research. So there's a lot of theory studies that needs to be done, but I think the course is really well put together to have us put it into application. And this gives me a very strong foundation as a coach to work with people. And then this is the second part of it that's super valuable, that this foundation is actually going to be very helpful years to come, because human development and research will continue, find new things that I will have to be up to date with. So learning how to use theory and to stay up to date with the latest research is key, I think, in this profession, and this course is valuable for that.
Thank you, Lavinia. That's really interesting. I am going to move over to Sam now. Sam, you also did the certificate in coaching. So maybe at the end you can add a little bit to what your perspective as to what Lavinia said. But first I would like to ask you, how did the certificate help you in your life and your profession, and what kind of support did you receive from your tutors and any other kind of support that you received while studying on this course?
Thank you. So basically, how I found about the course was I was actually a professional footballer for Cambridge United in the past, and unfortunately I didn't get another contract, and there was a bursary scheme between the Institute of Continued Education and the football club and community trust. So I applied for it. That worst case scenario, I could get a good personal statement, and I actually got it. So for me, I was in a complete space of unknown, and the course, it was almost like this. It gave me this whole new purpose. And when I first looked into coaching, I thought it was football coaching, because that's all I'd ever known in my life. Whereas actually it's this whole thing around questions, actively listening, accountability, and it really gave. So now, I feel like this is my purpose, my calling. And at the time I got a youth work role, and it was like perfect timing and alignment, because I aligned these practical elements, like Lavinia was saying earlier about the practical side of the coaching with my job. And to Simon's point, I was able to actually put into practice what I was learning here with the young people that I was working with, and the coaching approach was just really, really powerful. So since then, I've been a youth worker for 3.5 years, and now I'm helping 10,000 young people this year set up their own business. So yes, for me personally, it's had a huge impact on my life, and definitely one of the best experiences I've ever had. And then in regards to the support, I had massive imposter syndrome first day. To Simon's point, I was on the same course as doctors, as people that were diplomats. I was like, whoa, this is a bit crazy. I was 19 at the time. And but the support, and one for me, the first day I had a conversation with one of the tutors, and it completely transformed the way I viewed myself. And she basically said to me, look, you're here for a reason, and you've added so much contribution to the group already. And it kind of flipped my whole belief system within myself. And from there, I kind of just flourished in the environment. Like you can't not flourish in the environment, if that makes sense. The people that are on it, but two, the surroundings in which you're learning. So yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much. My next question is for Caroline. Can you tell us a little bit about your study commitments? You were saying earlier that you are quite a peak period, but on average, tell us about how much commitment did the courses, study hours between lectures, tutorial and assignments, please.
Okay. Oops. Well, it does vary, as I think Lavinia was saying. You know, if you've got an assignment coming up, then it's really, you know, that's all you're thinking about. But when I first started the course 4 years ago, I was still working part-time, but I was working as a teacher, which is very full on, but I was still managing to cope with the workload. Apart from, we have like 1 hour of lectures a week plus 1 hour of seminar a week, but around that there's a lot of reading to do. So I would say I spend definitely 1 full day every week in the library, researching, studying, making notes. In addition to that, I probably spend at least 2 hours a day reading, making notes, just researching, listening to lectures. But, you know, when it comes up to like 2 or 3 weeks before the assignment is due to hand in, I'm probably, you know, working more than that. But so, yeah, it's not something to undertake lightheartedly. It is a lot of work, but it's just phenomenally rewarding. And I think the way that you are taught, it makes it, you just want to do it. It's incredibly motivating, and yeah, I've loved every minute of it.
Thank you, Caroline. And you mentioned spending some time in the library as well. Is that the Cambridge Library or?
Well, I'm very fortunate because I live in Cambridge, so I go to the Cambridge University Library, yes, because we are given a student card, which is great.
Yes, which enables you access to the library.
Yeah. Yes, but you can also, you know, you can get what you need online. Lots of books are digitalized anyway, and tutors will supply the reading and so on.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to ask Zuneira next about how the course has met your expectations and anything else that you wish to share, really.
Thank you, Monica. So I knew I wanted to do a course in coaching, and I looked around, I obviously shopped around. There were many that I could physically attend in London, and there were obviously many online. But the reason I picked Cambridge, obviously the first main reasoning was that it had more depth. The course had more depth to it in terms of the theory, and there was, of course, the challenge of working on Zoom, which I hadn't done before. So studying on Zoom, that was quite new to me. The concept of having this flipped classroom model where you prepared before you went in for your study day was again very new to me. But what I found was that the structure of the course and the way it's been sort of organized from start to finish is that the staff, that the tutors, they actually hold you in a way, because after the study days, you've got the tutor groups. And then in addition to that, you've got the VLE that keeps you engaged. So you do get that feeling of being part of this bigger group of people from, quite frankly, all across the world. And that connection and the bond is something that I'm actually I've been really pleased about. I'm still obviously in my last unit. That's been brilliant for me. And of course, the perfect balance between the theoretical side and actually applying the theory to practice, and how those two have come together has again been another amazing thing for me coming out of this particular course.
Thank you. It's really interesting what you were describing as about feeling part of the community, working with your peers as well. So I'd like to ask one last question to Simon about his experience of being part of the study community, the peer learning, the support, specifically within the context of studying online.
Yeah, sure, because this is an area that I think, for me anyway, kind of exceeded my expectations. So I'm in a cohort of about 20, which is a great number to work with because you get to know everyone over the course of the first term. We know a little bit about each other, our circumstances, and again, I'm doing creative nonfiction writing, so also styles and stuff like that. So you build enough of a relationship across the group within that 20. The other thing to perhaps highlight is of the 20, first of all, there's quite a significant age range. So I think our youngest class member is probably about 25. And perhaps at the other end, at the more mature end, probably around 70, 75. So there's this really broad spectrum. The relevance of that is when we have class discussions, you pick up all sorts of opinions and ideas and people's perspectives across literally generations. So it makes for a much, much kind of richer discussion. The other thing to highlight also is probably about 5, I think, of our cohort are outside the UK. So based in Europe, we have one based in the US, we have one based in Colombia, for example. So again, you just get this richness and discussion and conversation, and they're able to bring other examples of things that we're studying that perhaps we would have missed without their participation. In terms of the peer group itself, yeah, often we have a class every week. It's in the evening, and often that'll involve a breakout session. So we'll go into smaller groups and discuss specific pieces of work, including each other's work. So you're able to then get into a more intimate discussion with a smaller group, but that group changes each week. So it's great because you're able to discuss a lot with a lot of people. So that's been really good. We also used the obvious channels to stay in touch with each other outside of the class sessions. So we have like a WhatsApp channel, which we can share things with, ask for help if people are struggling with that week's homework or whatever else. So that's quite an active channel, and especially during times where we're submitting end of term assignments. So the thing really kind of lights up at that point. So that's been good. And in fact, a few of us have also had online Zoom meetings of our own outside of the class sessions. So the groups come together and bonded really well. And I think it has been a very valuable part of the overall course itself, our ability to actually work together as these kind of subgroups. So yeah, it's been a really engaging and dynamic experience.
Thank you, Simon. That brings me to the end of our questions. I believe we now can hand over to our attendees to see if there are any questions that they wish to post within the chat, and our students will be very, very happy to answer any questions that you may have. Louisa, I can't see any questions yet, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Hi, Monica. It's Corey here. I can help
Corey.
you with that. Yeah. So the first question that's come through, it's a great one maybe for all of the students to give their individual responses to. A question to students: what was your biggest takeaway or learning from studying at ICE beyond the academic content in the classroom?
Who would like to take that? Lavinia.
I'll start. I just put it in the chat as well shortly. My answer is developing a growth mindset. It's somewhat related to what Sam mentioned, probably the imposter syndrome or just those kind of beliefs that, oh, I can't, can I, how can I, and just learning to work with that and have better questions to put. So not like, oh, I can't, right? The better question is, how can I? And practicing that and finding the solution to how I can, and discovering that I can, and discovering that, well, not only I can, but I do it quite well. And seeing the growth and the learning is just the progress that I've seen across the 5 terms so far has been amazing. Like I'm observing how my learning skills get better. So it's an incredible journey out of the academic to just see, develop this self-efficacy and growth mindset. And it's applicable in all aspects of life.
Thank you, Lavinia. Sam, please go ahead.
I think to echo that, by the way, it's a great question. You should be a coach. I don't know what course you're going for, but I would say actually the belief in yourself. So for me personally, it was a massive leap on from an academic perspective on what I'd done previously, but actually when you're in that environment and you've got really supportive tutors but also a brilliant network around you with the cohort, it gives you a sense of belonging, which then gives you the belief. And then once you do it, you go out into the world and you're like, wow, I've done this thing, what else can I do? And I think that's where the power lies. Like when you get through the other side as if it's going to be a slog, but like you get such a deep sense of purpose in your life that you've completed this thing and you can just go on and achieve anything. So for me, I would definitely say the belief within yourself that you'll get at the end, during, but also at the end of the process.
Thank you. Corey, any more?
Yes, we had a question I think Caroline is going to respond to, is specific to her, about whether or not she studied the certificate in the history of art before doing the diploma. I believe that was for you, Caroline.
Okay. Yes, I did 2 years of the certificate before I started the 2 years of the diploma. But that's because I knew absolutely nothing whatsoever about history of art. So I think some people who've done other courses in history of art or have got some kind of background in it just went straight into the diploma. But it certainly helped me a lot now as I look back over the 4 years that, you know, I can see sort of themes running across from the certificate to the diploma. So it's a really, really good background. And, you know, I feel that I know quite a lot now in comparison to the nothing that I knew when I started. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was touched on, I think, earlier about the sort of online environment and maybe being a first time learning with, especially a flipped classroom, etc. I just wonder maybe on each of your thoughts around how were you able to build a cohort as an online group? And did you feel that you're part of a cohort and sort of welcome as Cambridge students, or some of the challenges and positives and negatives maybe that you may have felt with that? Yes, Caroline first.
Well, I would say I think the most important thing is to try and make a WhatsApp group, you know, and just get those informal social contacts going, because, you know, as Simon was saying, you know, his class have got one. We've had one, you know, various different ones throughout the 4 years, and, you know, we meet up in person with people that live in the UK, and it's just great, and it really builds that sense of community. And we, you know, like Simon does as well, we also have Zooms outside of the scheduled ones. So that would be my advice.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And Simon, I believe you have your hand up next.
Yeah, just to build on that, because obviously we're all used to Zoom and WhatsApp, but the immediacy of it is really rewarding for us. if we're given homework, our class happens to be on a Tuesday evening, for example. So if we're given a homework assignment, we normally have one per week, and then we have a big end of term assignment. So the immediacy of WhatsApp and Zoom is great. And all the students are very much part of that. They kind of lean into using it. And it just brings, again, the group together very, very quickly around certain issues. So I think it's a really nice extension of the more formal classes that we have. We do Tuesday evenings. I think we do 3 Saturdays during each term as well, which is a full day. So those are kind of locked in your diary, and you know what to expect. But then these more impromptu meetings, which generally are well attended, if people are able to dial in and join, they do. But I think it just lifts the overall learning experience, and it does help you build a network. I think Sam mentioned a network of your own that I'm sure will continue to communicate even after we graduate, because these are people who are kind of in your space and can either give you confidence or give you a heads up, maybe, again, in our case, of writing opportunities, things that you could perhaps submit. So it's not just a cohort for us. I think we realize this is like part of our tribe almost as we go forward, and something that we can kind of tap into even after we graduate.
Tribe, I like that, Simon. Thank you very much. Sam, would you like to go next?
I was just gonna say, like, when I done the course I did, I was in a position where it was actually going through the COVID period in the UK. Like, I was 2 units in, and then there was the lockdown, so then we transitioned to online. But actually, I was really impressed with how the ICE team transitioned so quickly and adapted to that. And it actually, a lot of my coaching now is online, so it kind of like set me up in good stead without even meaning to. So I think that was a positive with how well they adapted. So I guess now, like 2-3 years down the line, I guess I know that the team always adapting and making it better. So I'm sure that's even better than when I received that support. But also, what I would say is that with how the cohorts work, and like when you connect with other people on the course, like we actually have in-person meetups. Like, I understand, obviously, there's people from other countries, but they're really powerful as well. And I think organically you'll just find that happen. So even though the course might be online for the whole thing, don't feel like you will never meet the people in person, because I'm actually sure that will happen. So yeah, I just want to let you know.
Thank you very much. The next question, I think, Lavinia, you wanted to handle this one. Do you have any guidance for students who may not have studied for numerous years? Any study tips or way to prepare?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to share the importance of actually looking into study skills. Before about myself, I mentioned I was a bit exposed to it when I did the edX course by myself, and it exposed me to a lot of research papers and so on. And I just found that I like it, and I was like totally into it and so on. But then when I started the certificate, Cambridge shows a lot of links and a lot of materials for how to prepare to study. So learning about how we learn, which is something I personally have done in the past as well, helped me. If you're not familiar with it at all, there are really good talks on YouTube explaining how we learn. And we often think we learn differently than how science shows that we learn. And just preparing a little bit with that, I think it's the greatest advantage before you start.
Excellent. Sam, would you like to add to that?
I would say one of the step up for me in regards to the level of academia was quite big. So I found it really valuable. There was some free workshops I went on at, and one of them was about critical thinking, and that was really powerful because that shifted my whole mindset on my mindset to actually approaching the sessions. And actually, when I was doing reading, me probably about 4 years ago, I would have just read something and absorbed it all in like a sponge and gone, oh, that's always the right thing. But actually, when there's so much information being thrown at you, it's really being critical about it, and then that can help write the assignment. So I would say, if you are obviously looking to commit, be a sponge, but for those workshops, and then from there you'll have the mindset to think about the information